Today what we're gonna do most of our work on is the Forno Bravo Roma oven. This one we're gonna do today is gonna be all wood heat. So I have a couple of cut pieces of wood, and they're the same wood. It's a kiln-drying wood, and you just wanna have a quality wood. You wanna make sure your wood, you don't have any sap woods, you don't have any treated woods. You wanna make sure you're using a clean wood, so you always wanna buy your wood from a good source. These are just two different sizes, so depending on what I'm doing, if I'm maintaining temperature or if I want to increase my temperature, okay? And that's cut wood. And another thing I have here, which I've come to use a lot, is pressed wood. So this is totally clean. This is a company called Fagetto from Italy. This is 100% beech wood. It's basically sawdust that's compressed. There's no glues, there's no fillers or anything in this wood. It burns a lot hotter than a regular piece of cut wood. Now, if you have a smaller wood, you gotta be more careful with using a pressed wood because they do burn hotter. So what you could do is you can crack them in half and use pieces at a time. But we're gonna use a blend of different woods. The next thing I'm gonna talk about is starters. So I have some starters here that this is wood, and it's actually wrapped in beeswax, okay? And then I have some sawdust. So this is basically strips of wood, and it's held together with beeswax. So it's a nice source. It'll keep a good heat, and it'll fire up very nice. And then this is sawdust. So I'll show you what I like to do when it comes to starting the fire, especially in a little bit colder oven. And then also what we have is a couple of other commercial starters. So I have a propane gun here that will get hooked up to a propane tank, and I'll show you the flame that comes off of this to get a fire started. And then I also have an electric heat gun. So what's unique about this is great for me for an oven. This is usually used for charcoal, but this is great because there's a fan in it, and it's also the heat source. It goes up to, I wanna say 1100 BTUs. So this in a charcoal where you put it straight in and you hold it and start it, it's feeding oxygen as it's feeding a heat source. But with a wood-fired oven and a hard wood, it's a little bit harder to get that fire started. So, but once the fire gets going, this is nice to feed oxygen into the oven to get that fire going. So what we'll do now is we'll start a fire in the oven, and we'll get it ready to start cooking. So with that, I have the oven. This is gonna be straight wood fire. So what I like to do is I'm gonna take a couple of smaller pieces of my cut wood. I'm gonna lay them down, and what that's gonna do is really help my larger pieces that are gonna be my heat source get off the ground, so this way oxygen can also come underneath. So I'm gonna take a couple of pieces of my larger cut wood. I'm gonna put that on top. And then I'm gonna take a couple of pieces of the pressed wood. And this, like I said, it really produces a lot of heat. And I'm gonna put these on top. So also with a larger oven, start your fire by the front and get yourself situated. This way, there's enough air getting to it. So you can take a torch and you can put it in there now and you can start the fire. What I like to do is, I have these fire starters. So I like to take a couple of these fire starters, and they burn great. And I like to put them in a regular cheap paper bag, lunch bag. And then I'll fill up my bag with some sawdust. It's just a nice dry sawdust. And I put it right into my paper bag, and then I roll it up, okay? And then I'll take the paper bag and I'll put it right under my wood. So I'm gonna take the grill gun, get it started. So this one is like a torch. Okay, so when you're a chef or a cook and you have big toys, makes sometimes things a little bit easier. And then, like also I talked with these, we have the electric, this is the turbo electric charcoal starter. And this will feed oxygen into the oven, and then you'll get a larger flame going. So we're gonna let this fire get started, we're gonna start burning, we're gonna get our oven nice and warm, and then we're gonna talk about the temperature control that we want for what we're cooking. It's very important. One other piece of equipment that you want to have, especially if you have an oven that's straight wood, that you don't have a gas burner with a thermostat in it, you want to make sure you have an electric thermostat gun or thermometer gun. So with this way, you're gonna be able to see what your floor temperature is, your ceiling temperature, and where your oven's at when you wanna start cooking. So we'll let this one go for about another 5 minutes, and then what we'll do is talk about shifting the fire to the side of the oven. So what I'm gonna use now is my ash shovel. I don't wanna use my peel that I'm making pizzas with or that I'm cooking with because I don't wanna damage them. So all I'm gonna do now is take my shovel and basically just shift my oven to my fire to the center of the oven. Okay, so this way, we had a piece of wood fall over, we're fine. So this way now, the fire's at the center point of the oven and it's gonna produce the most heat in there. It's at the top of the dome and it's gonna let the fire spread more evenly and heat the oven more evenly. So with that, we'll let this continue going. But again, like I said, try not to use your good working peels. Have either a shovel or a cheaper peel, metal peel, to push that back and lift your wood up on top of your fire without messing up your working stuff, your working equipment. Okay, so now we have our oven starting to get nice and hot. What I'm gonna do is shift my fire from the center of the oven off to the side. So like I said, you wanna pick the right or left side, whatever you're more comfortable with working. I'm gonna go to the left side of my oven. So what I'm gonna do now is basically take my fire and I'm just gonna start shifting it over against the side. So now that my fire shifted, I'm gonna take my oven brush. So you want a good oven brush, and it's not like you're scrubbing your oven. You just wanna gently sweep off whatever ash or whatever's there. So this oven brush, I'm gonna sweep over the ash, get it off the center. So this way, when I'm making my pizzas, I'm not worrying about getting a whole lot of ash on the bottom of it, okay? The one thing you don't want to use in a hot oven, you don't want to make sure that you don't have a wet rag and think that you're going to wipe it off. Because if you have a rag that's wet or you put water in it and you have a very hot floor, what you'll do is you'll crack the stone. So just use this. If you need to, you can actually use a dough. Make an extra pizza dough and use that as your floor cleaner. But don't use a wet rag, don't use a dry rag, you'll just put it on fire.